Welcome, everyone. In the next 30 minutes, we will talk about something that's holding back AI projects. And spoiler, it's not AI itself. But before we start, I want to talk about something very personal, my age. So I turned 30 last year, and I'm not sure. Wow, thank you for that. So I turned 30 last year, and I'm not sure if anyone can relate, but even in my peer group, there's the phenomenon. When you turn 30, you start like doing crazy things. You buy a fancy bike. You go and buy a fancy coffee machine. You start doing triathlons and so on. And in my peer group, you also start baking sourdough bread. And what do people do when they start baking sourdough bread? Of course, they go to the supermarket, they buy flour, they prepare the oven, they watch YouTube tutorials for hours. But the most of them don't realize before you can bake a really tasty and good sourdough bread, you need a starter. And this starter is the culture you have to feed for weeks. And also, when you are at work or in the university, someone is there with the starter because I'm not sure, I'm not in the sourdough game yet, but you have to feed them every 2 hours, I think. So it's really work, and you have to have this foundation. And why am I talking about sourdough bread? Because we are here to talk about AI and agentic, but it's the same, more or less, because right now a lot of companies wants to fire up the oven and they want to start baking sourdough bread, but the foundation, the data, simply isn't ready in most cases. And this is why we want to talk about with you today. And we have a really good case. But before we start, I want to introduce ourselves. So next to me, Alexander Pohlers. He is from Pöppelmann. Pöppelmann is one of Europe's leading plastic manufacturers. And he's here to talk about not the one and only success story. So if that was the expectation, I have to say sorry, but we want to take an honest look and an honest view on how Pöppelmann is doing those things. My name is Luisa Gröninger. I'm the director of the business unit data at basecom. We are a software and consulting company, and we work with companies like Pöppelmann every day on exactly this problem. So we start. What does AI-ready data mean? So we are, in our title, it says agentic-ready data, and now I'm coming to AI-ready data. AI-ready data is the pre-step before you have agentic-ready data. And there is no single universal definition. When you ask Gartner, they say it's always use case specific. So in our use case, B2B and product data in commerce field, there are 4 criteria. And when you take something home from this talk today, you have to remind those 4 criteria because we will talk about them also later. But let me walk you through those criteria. The first one is completeness. So if you have a product or if you have data, of course you have to have all relevant attributes. So it's not only the name or the article number, but if you really want to start working with your data, and that seems pretty easy, but if you really are in a company perspective, it's not easy at all because you don't have just private data, you also have the material, the application, the target group, the variants, the essence, and so on. And why is it so important? If the field is empty, the AI agent starts to guess. And a guessing model is worse than not at all. The second criteria is structure. Of course, data have to follow a structure. And we have, for example, the color blue. And it is really important that it follows a structure and it's not depending on who enters it. So we don't have like blue with a capital B and blue like with a raw code. It has to be really the consistent value range across various systems. The third one also is connected is consistency. The product must look the same in every system. And also this is not a really bang approach, but it's really hard when you go into the reality, because you have the ERP system, you have the PIM system, you have the shop, and there are sometimes also growing systems where it doesn't match. So in one system, the product has this data and this data dimension, and in the other one, it's different. And when you really want to work with AI agents, it has to be really consistent. And then you can compare, you can group, you can reason around both products. And the fourth one is availability. This is also not a quite surprise, but also in the reality, often a challenge, because the best, perfectly structured and complete, consistent data is not AI ready when a system can't, or an agent can't access it. So you need live API in real time and also in a machine readable format. And how you do it, we will look to the solution and how you come to meet those criteria. But it's important that everyone or every criteria has to be in place to achieve this AI readiness. So what is the difference between AI ready and agentic ready? So the question with AI ready originally was, is the data good enough to have a model to learn or reason over? And agentic really raises the bar significantly. So AI agents don't just read the data, they act on it, and they do it autonomously. And this is why you really have to have your data in place, because when you have an agent and he runs just over it, he doesn't say, okay, there is a warning, I think the data is wrong, I think the data is missing. He just acts on it. And if you really want to have this, you need action-safe completeness. Also, of course, I talked about it, you need cross-system linkage. So an agent navigating from a product needs to have the stock level, for example, and also the price, the descriptions, and he has to follow those data paths across these systems. And this is the entity resolution, for example, also an MDM problem. And the third one is, of course, governance. We will talk about this also later. And the difference is that a human data steward catches acceptance and an AI agent doesn't. And the short question is the difference between AI ready and agentic ready. AI ready asks, can a model work with it? And agentic ready says, can an agent act on it reliably, safely, at a scale, and without human oversight? Why are we talking about this? So the promise is real. AI agents can automate our work with product data. They can enrich, they can do the data maintenance, they can do dynamic pricing, the order processing, and so on. But what we see in our everyday work is a lot of AI projects fail, not because the AI is bad, they fail because the data is bad. And the honest industrial view of Pöppelmann and how they solved this problem is something Alexander will talk about now.
Thank you, Luisa. It's nice to be here. And Luisa, you already said some words about me and my company, but I will introduce myself and my role in the company. My name is Alexander, and I'm a project manager for online projects at Pöppelmann. Pöppelmann is a plastic manufacturer, and we develop and manufacture plastic solutions for industry. We are also pioneers and trailblazers in the circular economy. And like any other company of our size, we need a way to showcase our products, our services, our brands online. Every day, my colleagues and I faces a wide range of challenges from 4 completely different business divisions, each with its own logic, its own customers, and its own requirements. And here's what diversity looks like. We have 2,500 customers and 5 plants located all around the world. In Germany, in France, in the USA, and in China also. And we have 4 brands. Our brands are Capsule Pöppelmann, protective cats for industry and e-mobility. We have K-Tech, technical components for automotive. We have Pharmac, that stands for food, medical, and pharmacy. Medicinal, pharma, food packaging, highly regulated. And we have Teco, horticultural solutions. 4 divisions, 4 product catalogs, more than 12,000 products, and 4 different business models. Oh, the future of sales is digital. In recent years, Pöppelmann has driven its own digital transformation into the age of AI, where we stand now. But let me take a shortcut of this journey. In 2019, we started. We had excellence in manufacturing, excellence in circular economy, but our digital infrastructure, let's be honest, not future-proof. How did we get products online? You know it. Excel. That's when Pöppelmann decided we need a company-wide transformation. And we partnered with Basecom in the e-commerce path. That's why I'm standing here. And today, in 2026, we have the result of this process. Shopware as commerce core, API management connecting our ERP system, PIM, CMS in near real time. We use B2B sellers, Shopware composables, CDN to shape our content in commerce. And now we have Mia, our own AI system, agent, and it's ready to go. From Excel to integrated, from zero revenue to real digital business. So along the way, we had to learn our own lessons about agentic-ready data or data itself. And here's the first one. I will say it's not a success story. I will tell you about the challenges we faced. Teco is our customer platform for professional horticulture. Customers can place their orders through our Shopware portal. And for years, the ERP had one article number per product. That worked fine until you realized customers have been buying the same product for 20 years in 2 different unit sizes. Once in a carton, once in container, but ERP only had one article number. So the portal couldn't display this distinction at all. We thought, okay, problem solved. We put in vertical article number in the PIM. Customers see both variants, done. But then came the next request. Oh, can we show availability for the future dates? Not just this is available, just available on the 2nd of August or the 5th of September. That's valuable for our B2B customers. They plan their productions run. We thought, okay, product data is in the PIM. We built an API, done. But we were wrong. The availability data doesn't live in the PIM, it lives in the product systems. Other subsystems, different data models, and its ERP says available, but the production system says not available. Who's right? Nobody's right. All of them are wrong. Suddenly, we weren't just filling a PIM anymore, we were building an API layer that pulls fragmented data from different sources in near real time without breaking. That's not preparing data, that is orchestrating data. And the lessons we learned, if you think product data is in the PIM, attributes are complete, structure is right, we are done, you are not. Agentic-ready doesn't mean the system sees the data. Agentic-ready means the agent can navigate, as Luisa explained. From article number to variants, to availability, to lead times, live, consistent, reliable. Everything has to connect. Let's face the next challenge. Capsto is our protective caps and CPADs business unit. A large market, but in recent years, something changed. High voltage and low voltage solutions for the e-mobility. The reality is, every capsule product in this space isn't a standalone. It's connected to a specific counterpart, a connector from a specific manufacturer. And the customer asks us, I have a connector from manufacturer X versus the serial number 123. Which cap fits? The old answer in the old word for us was Excel. You already seen that. Sales teams maintained the mappings manually, and here's what they realized early on. They adapted our structure and thought, oh, that isn't a data problem, this is a dead end problem. So they thought, wait, we are doing this right, we go to the PIM, they built a proper database, counterparts, connectors, manufacturers, serial numbers, all structured, all linked together, connected to our products. And now it gets interesting for us. With this foundation, we can enable AI agents. An agent could understand the customer question, connector from manufacturer X, serial number 123, you remember, and pull the right cap automatically. In e-mobility, it's a huge advantage. But here's the reality. The data is in the PIM, but our website product data model changed massively. We no longer have simple products. We have products with multi-dimensional relationships at the SQL, at the article number level. That's structurally more complex than one product, one page. Until everything goes online on the website, is still a way to go. And the lesson we learned? Entity resolution isn't just one ID in every system. Understanding how your products really connect, it's a key fact. You have to understand this. At Capsto, that's not products and variants. That's multi-dimensional networks. And the more complex those networks, the more critical is that data is structured. One key point, the structured data. Not as free text, not in Excel, not as the sales guys know, but as data an agent can understand and act on. Where we stand technically. Good news. Good news. I was confused. I thought I had the wrong. Good news. We have an AI agent that we are testing internally. It functioned as the prototype of complex sales automation. The agent talks to our CMS, to our PIM, to our data, and automates sales processes that would otherwise take a long time to do it manually. And here's what is biggest work. Our agent translates customer requirements into actionable intelligence. When a customer asks us, or the agent, I need to protect a canonical hole in a sheet metal for vehicle doors, the agent doesn't just process the text, it decodes the underlying requirements, maps them to our product portfolio and application expertise, and automatically return the matching solution. Direct CMS, PIM integrations makes this 100% reliable. But to be honest, we still have challenges to bring this in benefit for our customers or in benefit for our digital customer journey. The work ahead is both human and technical in nature. Luisa explained the underlying theoretical foundations, the challenges, the infrastructure. Now I want to show you where we really stand, and here's the key. The technical and human components are equally important. The challenge one is understanding. You have to deep listen and have to structure effective communication. When we communicate, when we work on the same foundation, then that's when the agent doesn't get better, just get better, we get better together. Challenge 1 and 3 are connected. Coming together and continuous thinking. This is a key fact. Standards don't live on paper. They live on how CMS teams and how PIM teams talk to each other. And only then do the data align and the agent becomes intelligent. And we have to notice, we have to realize, it's an odd story, but I have to say this. These systems are never finished. Neither is the agent. The real question isn't when we are done, it's how do we keep improving this together. This requires a mindset shift. Two, this is how we work now, and this is our standard. Okay, what does it mean in practice for our future? What are we working on? The future of sales is AI, we heard along the day, all the day. Technically, we, Pöppelmann, we need to keep optimizing, we know this. More data, better quality, more robust processes, but equally important, we need to learn how to work with this automation at the sales organization. Which sales steps work automated, which ones still need the human touch, how do we use the agent right? And here's how we actually connect the systems. We are improving our API management layer that sits between ERP, PIM, and Shopware. Every system exposes its data through structured APIs. The agent doesn't talk to ERP directly. It talks to the API management, and that's what makes it possible for an agent to navigate from product to availability to price without knowing which system holds what. And agentic readiness just lives as much in people as in systems. Speed gave us systems, but a functioning sales automation doesn't emerge from a single big push. It emerges through continuous collaboration between tech and sales, between teams, between processes, and between people. We as Pöppelmann taking the first step into the future of AI. The agent works as a prototype, and now come the real challenges, or the real work, getting better together. So, let us talking about our data readiness. The availability is green. We have API management for infrastructure, the structured APIs, real-time for customer data, cloud migration of ERP systems in the end of 26, finally finished. But the hard part is the internal alignment. The structure of our data is green. All mandatory fields are populated, but populated don't need to be correct. Sometimes sales teams use placeholder values. As the quality is inconsistent, this is a hidden blocker. The linkage is yellow. No gone record system, automation at 70%. And our PIM team still does a tons of manual work that doesn't scale. We are not perfect. And I came here to be honest. Agentic readiness isn't a binary, it's a stack. Some layers are solid, others are under construction, and as the dimensions that hurt us most, they are not the technical dimensions. They are the governance, they are culture, they are alignment.
Okay, to wrap this up, the question is, what does it actually take to get AI or agentic-ready data? And you've seen Pöppelmann run this readiness assessment, and we see it's a process, of course, not a checklist. But to do this successfully or run this readiness test, we see two layers above them to get that solved. And the most important one is the data governance. I will walk you through that. What does data governance mean? So before anything else, someone needs to own the data. And that means every data domain, product data, pricing, stock, and so on, needs a defined owner. And this owner can decide what's true, what's mandatory, what can change. And this governance has to be an operational process. and not a slide deck, of course, because you really have to run this through. And if there's a new data domain, you, of course, need to decide who's the owner. And we have a good example for that, because a couple of months ago, we did a data strategy workshop with a customer of ours. And they had this discussion, who is the data owner of the product weight? And they had this for years. And one of the major goals for our workshop was to determine who is the data owner for this domain. Because is it product management? Is it logistics? Is it sales? Is it even packaging, for example? And this is really not an edge case. You have this in every company, that also the department said, okay, I'm not the owner. I can't decide. You have to do it, and so on. But when you don't have someone who really decides what is true, the AI agent also can work with it. So data governance is one of the most important things you have to run through when you want to achieve AI readiness. The second one is the buzzword golden record. Of course, you need a golden record. So this is like the entity resolution, and this is what I'm referring to. You need the consistency, and you only achieve those consistency when you get this golden record. And then finally, you can run those assessments. So we've talked about those 4 dimensions, and this is something you really can take home with you. You find like one domain and you run this through. So how available is the data? How well is it structured? Do we have really the state of completeness? And do we also have the linkage between the systems? And this is really an assessment you can do like in a 2-hour workshop when you go home. And then I think you will have a better and more honest state of your readiness than every demo or sales pitch or AI consulting you can get those days. So what is the most challenging about AI is, how do I get started? And I know that feeling because it's overwhelming and you see those buzzwords arise everywhere. But the good news is you don't have to solve everything at once. And that's what I'm saying. It's a sequence, it's not a big bang, and you have to start with the foundation. I think what's very important is that you prioritize, of course, and you should prioritize not by ease. So this is simply done. You have to, of course, prioritize by the priority or the benefit you get for your company. So when you do it, you have to have the foundation, you have the integration, of course, the activation, and then you have to start just with one project. And Alexander talked about how challenging it is to bring it into the company. So the buzzword is change management, to get the people work with it. And the most practical tip or advice for this is start with something very, very annoying. So something really everyone is upset that this is not automated or this is nothing an agent can solve. And that gets a lot of credits for the employees who will work then other ways. So if you have 3 things to take home from this talk, the first one is these AI problems are often data problems. So if you have a problem with that, it might be, in most cases, that it's a data problem. The second one is start with the data governance. So you pick one domain, you start the readiness assessment, and then you really start going. And the third one, and I have to look it up, is, of course, what I'm saying, agentic readiness is not technical, it's organizational. And don't forget the people, because otherwise your AI agent doesn't have a foundation or some challenges on the way, which are, of course, not technical. That's our talk, but we know that the real conversation starts after the talks and in the break and so on. So Alexander and me,
To go down.
yes, we will be here all evening, and we would really be happy to talk with someone of you about your challenges or also your solutions and maybe your one and only success story. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
And yeah, we will see you at that party.
Thank you.